Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and in this video, we are going to discuss two new releases from Umbrella Entertainment, the Australian distributor behind the Drive-In Delirium collection, which if you've seen our favorite Blu-rays of 2019 video, you know how much we loved the Drive-In Delirium collection. But we've got two new releases from Umbrella. First comes Cut, which is a 2000 Australian horror movie starring Molly Ringwald and Kylie Minogue. So more on this in just a moment. I have the most to say about this. The other new release is Young Guns 2. Now I have to tell you guys, Young Guns 2, I am one of those people who prefers Young Guns 2 to Young Guns 1. I don't know what it is. It might just be the time. I was just the right age. The Bon Jovi music. I have the soundtrack for this thing. I love Young Guns 2. Now those of us in North America, we do have, this has been released recently, I say in the last year or so, via like a manufactured on demand program through the studio that holds the rights to this in North America. But enter Umbrella to service basically the rest of the world, because this is a region-free disc. This does come, that this will play, worldwide. I should also note, I realize this has been, this made its way basically halfway around the world for me. This came from Australia, so it got a little beat up in packaging in the transition. But hey, the disc is what matters to me, and the disc is here, and it's just gorgeous. I love Young Guns 2. I'm a huge Kiefer Sutherland fan. Let's see. Emilio Estevez, I'll Make You Famous. Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christian Slater, and William Peterson is Pat Garrett. I think this movie is fantastic, and it's a shame that it kind of closed the book on the Young Guns saga, because I could have gone for a Young Guns 3. Are we in a world where we could see a reboot of the Young Guns saga? I hadn't thought about that until just this very moment. Are they going to remake Young Guns? Who would be the modern Young Guns? Would the Jonas Brothers be the Young Guns? Would it be Nick Jonas? I don't know. But you guys, I adore this movie. This is region free. It looks good. This is a solid Blu-ray presentation. I think this is a movie that has kind of come to fly under the radar for a lot of people, and that's unfortunate, because this is it's not a modern, I was gonna say it's a modern Western. It's not really modern. We're talking about 1990. It's 1990. So wow, that was 30 years ago, you guys. As I was talking about how I was just the right age, that was 30 years ago. Oh man. Okay, well, I highly recommend Young Guns if you are looking to add this Blu-ray to your collection. I have no idea why it took so long for this to come out on Blu-ray internationally. Young Guns 1 was one of the first Blu-rays that I ever bought. It was like Young Guns and The Untouchables. I think I bought on the same day when I got my Blu-ray player, and I was always waiting, like, any day now, Young Guns 2, and it's taken this long for us to get Young Guns 2. But hey, we have it, and that's the important thing, right? One of the cool things that Umbrella does with their artwork is that different regions, different areas have to put these mature, what does this say? It says medium level violence. It's medium level violence, but they always give you, Umbrella gives you reversible artworks. You have the clean cover arts on the other side. So I respect that and I appreciate that. So that's Young Guns 2. So let's talk about the movie Cut, because this is the one that I had never seen before. This was a total mystery to me, but I was very interested in it because this is essentially a slasher movie from 2000, which I think obviously very influenced by that whole Scream cycle. Scream begot Urban Legend, which begot I Know What You Did Last Summer, which had all these sequels. Out of that comes this, but through a very uniquely Australian filter. And that was really what was so interesting to me about this, is because there's a whole world of movies that I think a lot of us in North America just maybe they're not on our radar. So this is one of those. It's got Molly Ringwald. She's basically, here's the premise of Cut. So just like with Scream, it's kind of like a movie about movies. It's using that meta, that whole meta filter. And so there's Molly Ringwald was an 80s movie star who starred in this horror movie. Something went horribly wrong on the set of this horror movie. Kylie Minogue was the director. And so years later, she's haunted by what happened. If this is sounding kind of like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I don't think it's a coincidence. And so she's haunted by what happened, and the next generation of filmmakers wants to finish that movie that never got finished in the 80s because of that tragedy. And so they go out and they start doing this, and of course bad things start to happen again. But it is a slasher film, and it's also, I think it's important to point out when watching, I have to say things like this because the audience now is so ironic. We watch everything with such a sense of superiority. This is a comedy. This is kind of a satire on horror movies, but it's done with a lot of love. It's done, obviously, the best satire comes from affection. You can't really take the wind out of something if you don't love it to begin with. So this is done very knowingly, very winkingly. There's a lot of nods to Halloween, to Freddy Krueger, to Jason Voorhees, and of course to Scream and the Ghostface thing. I think they even reference Scream by name at one point in this movie. But it would be a mistake to watch this movie thinking it doesn't realize what it is and that the laughs are unintentional. It's campy on purpose. As with, I think, the best horror movies often realize that they have a little humor in them. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, perfect example. As soon as you realize the humor underneath the surface in that movie, it kind of is the key that unlocks the whole thing. So listen, I'm not going to say that this is like a hidden masterpiece or anything like that, but it is really interesting from a horror collector perspective. The horror community in general is very dedicated, very passionate, and finding something like this on Blu-ray, this has been restored. It looks absolutely fantastic. Let me see if this comes from a new scan. It doesn't say that it comes from a new scan, but I will tell you that it looks really filmic. It looks very, the film grain, the colors and everything, it really looks like you're watching film. And I think that's to be championed, of course. I don't want a slick, no grain and no noise. I want it to look like film, and this one really does. It's got some cool extras on here too. So the movie was directed by a cat called Kimball Rendall. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But there's a commentary between him and the writer, Dave Warner. And then there's some vintage behind the scenes features. They're kind of like, basically the entire electronic press kit is on this Blu-ray. So all the vintage interviews, the 2000 era interviews with the cast, with Molly Ringwald, talking about why a horror movie in the year 2000? Why are you doing this? Talking to, all the cast. And so in 1995, this director did a short film with Kylie Minogue called Hayride to Hell, and that is presented on. It's about 11 minutes, and it's an interesting. I'm going to say it's an interesting curiosity, just because of the cast, just because of what it does. It's cool to include something like that because obviously Umbrella did not have to include that short film, but. So you get this is this director's first film. I should say that he did, before this there was like a music video, there was a short, like some TV stuff, some shorts, and then this was his first film. I think he's only directed 3 or 4 things in the last basically 20 years. So this is cool as the director's first film, and it's cool that they put his previous short film on here. So it's got, look, it's everything you need for cut. If you're interested in this movie, if you are a horror collector, a horror completionist, I think it's really cool to track down the Australian take on horror. There are a lot of fantastic. Wolf Creek immediately springs to mind. Australia has a really interesting and unique take on the horror genre. This one goes to some wacky places. Again, don't watch it thinking that you're smarter than the movie. The movie is just trying to have a good time, and it goes to some really fun and goofy places. So I do recommend Cut. This is a multi-region Blu-ray. This played perfectly fine on my Region A player. So if you're interested in importing it, have no fear. This is multi-region friendly. This also has the reversible artwork that we were talking about, so you can have the clean version of the cover without having to have the government mandated warning about what's egregious with this film. They have clean artwork, so you can have that on the reverse side. Umbrella Entertainment is always very collector friendly like that, and I do appreciate it. So guys, I'm going to put purchase links to both of these releases in the video description below this video. If you scroll down, there will be links there. And I want to thank Umbrella Entertainment for sending these over for me to talk to you guys about. And I want to thank you for your time and for discussing these cool Australian releases that I think deserve all of the attention right now. This is really cool stuff. This is a gem, man. To discover a piece of horror history that had previously been off of my radar, I'm just very appreciative of that. So thanks to Umbrella, thanks to you guys. Take care, and until next time, I will catch you later.